Being overworked and overstressed is something many of us can relate to.
I completely maxed myself out doing things that weren't fueling my soul.
But one woman flipped the script on her own life and proved it's never too late to hit the reset button.
You are never, ever, ever too old to start over and to get in touch with who you are.
Who is this modern hero?
I am Tammi Fuller, and this is my story.
You have taken really a 180 in your life. Let's talk about your journey.
I was one of those kids that they said live 10 for 2, which means I lived 10 months in life for my 2 months at camp. Summer camp was my happiest place. I learned how to lose like a good sport. There was no brattiness. You're happy for each other. It was the first time I'd ever been part of a tribe that wasn't my family. There was something about that that hooked me. It was life lessons wrapped in fun and games. I always knew, that I wanted to run a camp for grown women. You don't have to know how you're going to get your dream to be realized. You just have to know what that dream is.
But the responsibilities of adulthood forced Tammi to pursue a traditional career as a journalist in Miami, putting her dreams of running a camp for women on the back burner.
I find it really interesting, genuinely, that you always knew that you wanted to be a camp owner, and yet you went into television.
Right. I got married at 25. My husband was 7 years older than me. Great guy, but we were serious. We were on a path. And that's why I became a producer. I started in investigative stuff because I was one of those, like, I'm gonna put the bad guys away. It was a really good time to be in Miami if you like news.
For cocaine to disappear.
It was corrupt politicians and corrupt policemen. It was a really interesting time to sort of be standing up for the people.
But it didn't take long for Tammi to realize that life behind the scenes wasn't easy.
News was a very demanding job, and you had to sort of be available 24/7. I would come into work 4 hours early, I would stay 3 or 4 hours late. I'm an all-in kind of person. So when you're working all the time. And I also believed back then, and I got some great advice, you will never be penalized for working too much, for speaking out. And as a result of that, I became more valuable to the people that I was working with. And so they kind of wanted me around more. And that's how you work your way up.
Her work ethic didn't go unnoticed, and she quickly climbed the ranks of the Miami news scene. But when she had children, she came to the harsh realization that balancing work and family was going to be a big challenge.
In the 80s, there just weren't working moms in a newsroom. They just weren't. News was a very demanding job. And the first couple news directors that I had were men. And if my daughter was in a school play, I had to lie and say, she's sick, I have to take her to the doctor. It wasn't okay back then to say, my daughter's in a play and I'm going to go watch her. You just couldn't do that. You had to have a legit reason because you didn't have enough people who were parents who were trying to sort of balance it all.
You have to make excuses for your life.
Yeah.
Despite the obstacles, she worked tirelessly. And within 10 years, she landed a big job as producer at NBC, creating content for The Today Show, Nightly News, and Dateline. But her newfound success came with a price.
I was working a lot in Central America for NBC News and got sent all over the place. I never knew what my assignments were going to be next. And so I had to be covered all the time. My husband was kind of a workaholic and I didn't have coverage. And you couldn't do that unless you had help. I had 23 nannies in 15 years. How pathetic is that? And one of the last ones got arrested for shoplifting in a grocery store with my daughter in the cart. I went to go get her and get her out and asked her if she would stay till Friday.
No.
Like, how messed up is that? Because I was in the middle of a series and it was a Tuesday and I said, I just need you 3 more days. I mean, this woman was arrested with my kid there and I begged her to stay.
Did you ever feel a sense of guilt that, oh my God, I am not where I should be right now?
Absolutely.
How do you feel about that?
It was not easy. And I do believe that looking back now, my kids are both complete workaholics.
Really?
Yeah. And I think that I showed them a little too much about how important it was to sort of make your mark on the world. And at midnight, when my kids went to bed, I went and worked, for another 3 or 4 hours, not out of the house, but in the house. And so they saw that there were no boundaries.
Right.
I didn't realize when I was living that life with them what they were getting, but children learn what they live.
Tammi's demanding profession also took a toll on her marriage and ultimately led to a divorce.
I became a single mom at 40. I was like who asked for this. Because when you are a single mom and you are struggling to juggle all the demands that life throws at you, it's never easy, it never slows down.
Instead of feeling sorry for herself, Tammi used her heartache as a wake-up call to set her fears aside and start chipping away at her lifelong dream of starting a camp for women like herself, who are maxed out and need an escape. She calls it Camp Powerment.
I called the owner of my camp in the Poconos and said, can we come rent your camp?
And you're talking about the camp from when you were a kid, when you say your
When
camp.
I was a kid, yep.
You really always knew you
Always.
were going to do the camp.
I really believe that people, women especially today, we stay on this path of, oh, this is a career that I've been in for 30 years. And even though I don't really love it, dreams are for dreamers. And it would be irresponsible for me to just sort of walk away from what I know I'm good at.
It's very scary.
It's very scary.
Especially because for so many females, it was so hard to get to that point because of all the barriers in the way that they don't want to have to start all over again and do it from scratch. Or it's terrifying, what if I fail, you know? So what do you say to those people?
We all have a reason and a purpose, but so many people go to their grave without ever discovering that because they're trapped in what they're supposed to do.
But starting a camp was neither fast nor easy. Tammi continued in her role as senior supervising producer at Extra for nearly 2 years, while simultaneously building her business.
You can't just leave a job that you're well paid for and go segue into your own business without having done some work. It just doesn't work like that. And I had a really beautiful lifestyle because I had a big job. And then I created this idea and my salary stopped and I had to put my own money into this. I sold my house to be able to support this. Nobody knows that. Nobody recognizes you. Everybody thinks that, oh, this is so easy. She just did what she wanted to do, and because she was a producer, she had connections and she can do that. Life doesn't work like that. And it takes sacrifice.
You've changed your entire lifestyle. You've changed everything to make this thing a success.
And at 57 years old, you know, there are times when I think, you know what, I can't believe that I have to go to a laundromat and get quarters. But every time I do that, it reminds me of how good this tastes and how badly I want this to work. I'm laser focused on taking this Camp Powerment idea, which is helping women live life bigger and better and find their purpose and go for it. And I believe that if I take my eye off the ball, it's going to disappear.
Since 2013, Tammi has devoted all of her time and energy into making Camp Powerment a success. The Sleepaway Camp attracts women across generations and demographics, and even runs a scholarship fund to send deserving women who cannot afford it. And each session has experts from a variety of fields that coach the campers.
You have an array of people who are talking about and guiding you through things that you don't even know you need. We bring 12 to 15 experts in so many fields: health, wellness, love, sex, parenting, productivity, food, fitness, meditation, yoga, business empowerment, body language interpretation, and they get these tangible takeaway tools and tips that can help them shift their life.
Sometimes you need to shake everything up in order for people to start, paying attention to the important things again.
It's only when you get honest and vulnerable with people and you really share your fears and share what you're worried about, you don't get what you want, you get what you need, and probably you don't even know what that is.
For some women, that's bringing back playtime with fun games and activities.
With adulthood comes mortgages and responsibilities, and you have to be serious, and you can't really take the time to play, I found. And so the idea, I think, is to teach women that they are entitled and they are allowed to be silly, to have fun, to play, to be 12 years old.
Tammi keeps it all in the family and runs the program with her mom and daughter. The trio has one mandatory rule that they strictly enforce at camp.
You can't say what you do for a living for the first 24 hours. And so part of what we tried to do was even the playing field so that you are not your job. We have learned to define ourselves through our work and what we do, and then go talk to the women who are killing themselves to stay home to raise socially conscious, really character-driven kids, and they're the ones who kind of hide when they say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, what do you do?" "Oh, I'm just a mom." Like, that is not okay.
If we could just take out all the labels in life, people could just talk about, what they like and who they are.
We're all walking around with a story, and our stories should not be defining us, and sometimes they need to be rewritten.
And Tammi proves it's never too late to rewrite your own story, even if that means risking everything.
Do not take the safe route. for your first job or your second job or your third job, because once you do that and you get on the train, it's very hard to get off. It took me 34 years to get off.
Are you happy with how your life has turned out?
I am. I would be lying if I told you that every day I wake up and go, yay, I get to do this today. There are a lot of days when I wake up and say, I must have lost my mind. But I didn't know that I had the capacity or the capability to bring the people together to help affect change for so many people. Yes, it's harder than anything I've ever done or bargained for, but the rewards, I'm an emotional billionaire.
Tammi is helping women empower themselves and each other. How about you? Follow Modern Hero TV on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.